Hello, this is Abina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today I would like to try a technique that I've never done before, and apologies, I don't remember where I've seen it. The design I think is inspired by Maremi Small Arts, but I can't remember whether she used this technique or whether I've seen it somewhere else. What it is, it's basically printing with tissue paper. I've got tons of tissue paper. I bought a really large pack very cheaply at, I don't know, Home Bargains or The Works, one of those shops. And it's basically meant for packaging, you know, when you wrap up presents. But obviously you can also use it in your crafts. And I already filmed a little video just before I filmed this. I had a little trial run, which was a bit of a fail, because my thought was to use die cuts for the printing, and I was partially successful. This leaf here turned out okay, but these are a bit too subtle, so the secret I think is to use really dark colors for this technique. And then these delicate petals got stuck to the paper, and when I tried to peel them off I tore the paper. So you need a good cardstock. I'll actually be using the same one again for this one and try whether it works. This is just my standard 300 GSM cardstock, but you need a cardstock that holds a little bit of water. I think I applied too much here. So what you need for that is basically a water bottle. I should have filled mine really, but I think I might be okay. And as before, I wet the cardstock and then placed down the elements here, but I think this time I just put them down and then spray the cardstock. I hope that works. And I want to try a very subtle design, or sorry, simple design. I've just cut 3 petals here. This folded over. These are actually 2 different colors of purple. I don't know if the camera picks it up. And this is to make the flower. So obviously you can do any sorts of designs, but I think I would just like this or I could put this one in the front if I want. No, I want this underneath. Hopefully this will then look like it's in the front, because this hopefully it's the color that picks up first, but they're very close to each other anyway. And then I've just cut same shapes again to make some leaves here. And the idea is then to doodle in the rest once the card is dry. So, looks a bit simple, but it might be nice. I'll just move that over a little bit, make it a bit more like a closed flower. So, I hope this works. I hope my water doesn't blow these away. So, as always, I haven't fully practiced that. I'd sometimes just like to put on my camera. So what I will do though, use my tweezers to hold these in place whilst I'm applying the water. See, because they do blow away if I don't do that. Just stretching these out, making sure they're not folded. Also be mindful, if you've got wet hands, you might leave imprints on there. So again, I'm just holding it down. So ideally you've got a water bottle that's a bit fuller than mine. Do this every single time, think I need to fill it and then forget. So I think I'll leave it like this. I'm tempted to press this down a little bit where I've got some bubbles, although that could actually be a nice effect if you've got some texture on there. And I don't know if the camera picks it up, it's bleeding a little bit here. So I haven't got a clue how long I need this to stay on. I will just use the back of my brush just to press this down a little bit, or maybe to apply a bit more water so it adheres a little bit more, but I don't want too much. So it's basically deciding when the ink has come out and when I can peel it off before it starts sticking down. So I think at the bottom I'll just start peeling off now. I will use some scrap paper to collect it, because this is still still be some ink coming off this. Can you see now where I haven't pressed down, no ink's come out, so I need to press this down properly. I don't want all these white areas. Having said that, I could come in with a second colour maybe. That might be actually quite nice. I quite like the texture there actually. Don't want it to be too white. And then I'm taking off the purple as well. There you go, that was very interesting. My other thought was, if I get ink out of this, whether I could come in and paint the rest in. I will just leave this to dry for now and then come back, I think with a different colour, because I think the effect is quite interesting. So ideally you don't have any folds in it, but yeah, I quite like it. I have just remembered a technique from working with napkins, and that is to use some acetate to flatten the napkins before you apply them. So I wondered, haven't tried it again, whether that would work. So I'm putting the water on here. Sorry you can't see that at the moment, so I'm just spreading out the water. Might be a bit too wet already. And I'm applying a leaf. I've chosen a different green now, so hopefully that will show nicely there. So making sure this is fairly flat on here now. Be mindful you pick up some colour with a brush, so I need to clean that in a moment. And then I can lift this up now and place it where I want it, which is obviously here. And this actually gives me a very flat print without any folds in it. So obviously you've got a bit of water, so it does again bleed a little bit, but I don't mind that. So again, it's wondering when it, see, it does bleed a little bit here, so I need a bit of tissue there to mop it up, so maybe don't get the acetate or the sleeve too wet. Oh, and it's coming off there, so I might as well peel it off now. But see, it's filled in all those areas, so that you might want to do that the first time around. So I'm just doing that now again for the second one, and then I will do the same on the top, but I've cut some pink for that. I will do this off camera. So again, apply this here, not too much water, no, definitely no water, proper water drops, just really want this more or less misted. Having said that, it does need a little bit more for the water to come off, for the ink to come off, but I can flatten it out on here. I will just mop up the water now, the excess water around it. Clean this one and then place this on here. So I think again I will peel it off straight away. Yeah, that's worked nicely. So it does warp quite a bit. I'll have a look later how much warping I've got once it's dried. So as I said, I will quickly do this on the top here as well. And yeah, then I'll leave this to dry, but for you it will only be a few seconds. If you should find that your tissue paper is too dry when you print it, I had a little bit of white here, just give it another spritz of water when it's on here, and then you know you've got plenty of water there for this to come off. Place it this way around. And I also found with that one before that this will actually stick to the acetate sheet here, and it's easy then to peel off. Can you see? A bit of excess water there on the top that I can then mop up. And I've got a good coverage there, and I can use it again here if I find I've got too much white there. It's a different shape, but it doesn't matter, and I can press it down to get a bit more ink out of the tissue paper there. Can you see? So yeah, I'm still undecided whether I like this motif. I will leave it to dry and see what I do with it. I'm not very good at doodling. I've also got quite a bit of muck around here. I might do a little bit of spritzing around it to distract from that. I don't know that yet. But yeah, I think it's a interesting technique, something you can do with children as well. And I think I might do a slightly different design as well to show you what else you can do with this technique. So I've quickly prepared a second panel here just by cutting out circles in 2 colours and stamping these, and I've dried both of these with my heat tool. But obviously, because we used a lot of water, there is quite a bit of warping. So what I will do now is I will put these between 2 sheets of just copy paper and run them through my die cutting machine, and that usually flattens these out quite nicely. Never perfect, but it'll do the job. So I told you I'm not great at doodling, but I just give it a try. I might make a total mess out of this, but never mind. I've got here a brush fine liner. I bought these in Germany, and I think this would just be the nicest one to draw on this. And all I want to do is just sort of follow the shape, but I want to do double lines like proper doodling. And yeah, I just go for it now. I've not even used this pen before. You can see already going very bold here. I really want this to look a bit arty. As I said, I might not like it afterwards. I'll do it a bit randomly. Like this here. Not quite sure whether I want to go further down here actually. Maybe just like this. There's a secret to doodling, let me know. Going in now here with second lot of lines, maybe a bit lower. Yeah, I think I like that. Maybe this one was a bit too controlled, so maybe just do a little bit of a swig there and a swig there. Yeah, I think that doesn't look too bad. But as I suggested before, I need to do something about the background, so I think I will just get my mirror paints out, or maybe even my mica paint, I don't know yet, to do some splats in the background. So I got my spray box out, which is just a shoe box that I cut open here on the front, and I've got my homemade mica watercolours. All this is mica powders mixed with water and gum arabic. Gum arabic is like a fixative, so when you use these, it won't rub off on your fingers. So, and I just created this. This is was an empty water or paint palette that I just put these in. So I just need a little bit more water. And this is just like a reddish pink. I thought about I could have done with some purple, but I don't seem to have a purple mica powder. Obviously you could use Posca pens if you got those. I've only got them in 2 colours. So, and I've just got it on the brush here. Again, one thing I'm not great at is actually splats, but I'm just dabbing it like this just to basically disguise where I've got residue from the actual printing. Contemplating whether I want a bit green on the bottom. I will cut this out anyway to size to fill a 5x7 card. I didn't want it that big, so I might just use a different colour as well, like the green. So all I do there is really just apply water. Find another brush. Yeah, I decided against the silver or gold. I want to keep this plain, but I'll show you with the other one in a moment what I'm doing with that. So I'm just going around the flower. I don't want too much on the actual flower. It's got a few stray ones, but I really want to create the background with this. Maybe a few splats so that the one I did accidentally have there look a bit more intentional, but these are the smaller ones. Yeah, I think that'll do me. Let me lift it up for you to see. So lots of splats there. So I'm leaving this to dry now. I might add a few pinkish ones there when I've switched off the camera. I'm leaving that to dry, and then I think just off camera I will cut this to size and probably mat it as well to tie in those colours, because there is a lot of white space around the flower at the moment. And I'll just show you in a moment what we do with the other panel. For this panel, I had thought about doing some heat embossing, but then I just thought I've actually got these Artistro paint markers, and these are the glittery ones, and I think this will be sparkly enough so that I don't need to have any hassle with heat embossing, and I want to keep it simple. So as I said before, it's a craft you could easily do with children. So I've tested it on the side here because my idea was, and this is a bit inspired by the new release by Visible Image, they've just released a series of, I think they call them sketch stamps, and one of them is a star, and I didn't buy it because I thought, well, this is something that I can easily draw, and that's what I'm going to do here. So it's like a scribbly star. That's a bit out of shape. It looks like a doodle, so that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm just drawing a very quick star, and it's meant to be that wonky, because what I'm doing now is that I've drawn it like this. You could pre-draw it with a pencil if you wanted to. I'm just going over this here now, and I actually want these to overlap a little bit so that they come off like that and just look like it's just individual lines. And can you see the shine on it? So again, I could come in with double lines and let these overlap like this, just to give it some interest and really make it look just like doodling. I don't remember whether I've done a double line there. So I'm going to continue this. I'm going to put some more stars on this. I will, I think, leave the white space here for the sentiment, but again, I will cut this down. This is just a random piece I found in my cupboard, so I will cut this down. I don't mind cutting any of these stars off, and yeah, I think again, like this one here, like with the other one, I will mat this and just show you the finished card. My two cards are finished. On this one here, I added some more smaller stars, and I added some silver splats, and then I added this sentiment strip here with a Visible Image stamp. This is from the Christmas Go-To Words, and I'm really pleased with this. The mat is just a scrap I had. It's like a turquoise cardstock, and as I said before, this is a DL card, so it's 8 1/4 inches by 4 inches. So I cut this from an A4 sheet, and I left this at 8 1/4. Yeah, I think this came up really nicely and came together really well. And this is my other card. I've matted this one here on a purple cardstock. Ideally, I would have liked something a bit bolder like this colour. And what you can do if you want to is use the tissue paper to ink up another piece for the mat, but I just took something again from my scraps, from my leftovers, and I used the same cardstock to mat the sentiment strip because I found this didn't pop enough. I stamped this one in purple, by the way, but it almost looks black. And again, yeah, I think this came together really nicely. I wasn't quite sure halfway through whether this looked too childish, but sometimes it's just fun to do something different, to be a bit messy with your materials. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think the results are really, really nice. And if you think so too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.